All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Katharine. I am the Director of Customer Experience at GrowthLoop. And today we're going to take the next few minutes to talk about what is admittedly a bit of a broad subject, which is the idea of eliminating bottlenecks to fast track your marketing. But we are going to try to narrow that down a bit, and we're going to view it specifically through the lens of the rise of composable CDPs. So, what composability means for you, how it enables teams to accelerate marketing and increase personalization so that they can drive incremental revenue and return on their marketing dollars. All right, so how this is going to run, let's see if I can click through here. Perfect. So I'm going to give some quick introductions to myself, my team, and some of our clients. We're going to take a step back. We're going to talk about the audience platform landscape. So historically, how audience platform technology has been evolving over the past 10 years and how composability really represents the maturation of that technology. And then we're going to hop in and we're going to do a live demo of GrowthLoop. And of course, I love GrowthLoop. I love the product. I think it's great. But I also think this will serve to just help crystallize the concepts we're talking about around composability, regardless of the platform that you choose. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A at the end if there are any questions. All right, so with that, like I promised, introductions, talk about my background very quickly. First of all, I am based in beautiful Denver, Colorado, and I have not always been in MarTech. I actually started out at a very large enterprise company, AB InBev. A lot of you are probably very familiar with their products. But it was that background in enterprise analytics that brought me here because one of the major problems that we confronted as an analytics team was the struggle to get the data that lived in our data warehouse. We had these massive customer data models, really rich information. It was very difficult to actually get that in the hands of the strategic decision makers, so marketers, pricing teams, sales teams who are actually responsible for designing the strategy and the campaigns that we wanted to use this data for. We had to copy our data to different places. It was living in CSVs, it was living in different tools, and altogether it was really difficult to hone in on a specific data model that was a source of truth and that could be easily utilized by those frontline teams. And so that's why GrowthLoop really resonated with me when I joined 2 years ago as a solutions architect. It was the idea, again, of composability, of creating your data warehouse as the source of truth and really maximizing the value of the data that lives there by making it commonly accessible to commercial teams. And so today I'm now, like I said, the director of customer experience. So I lead a team of solutions architects and of customer success managers that have that goal as their sole focus, which is helping our clients make the most of that data by enabling the business stakeholders who are the ultimate decision makers to be able to activate that data, to use it to drive organizational alignment, to drive increased revenue, and to accelerate the rate at which they're launching campaigns. All right, and so while I'm talking about that team or my team, here's a bit of a broader look. So here at GrowthLoop, we consider our customer experience one of our main differentiators because when you sign with GrowthLoop, you are not just being handed the keys to a product and told to go run with it. We really view it as a partnership. So you're going to have a data strategy team that works with you to ensure that your data models are in the best position to be utilized by the end users who have more of a business background than a technical background. We're going to have a direct line to our product team to ensure that as we develop our product and refine our roadmap, it's really in line with what you and your teams need to drive results. And like I said before, you are going to have a solutions architect who's highly technical and very skilled in getting our clients quickly stood up with the product and driving value in the short term, and then also a customer success manager who's focused on driving value for the long term. So how do we continuously enable you to drive your specific business goals using the platform? So a few clients quickly who have taken advantage of the technology and our team to drive results. So first of all, Boston Red Sox, fun example. They were one of our original clients who work with a variety of clients across Major League Baseball. And their bottleneck was really around how do I take the predictive models that my data science team is developing and put that in the hands of the business user so that they can use those for more effective communications and more specific targeting. And so GrowthLoop allowed them to effectively, take them off the shelf, dust them off, and use this visual UI on top of that data warehouse, the source of truth, to enable the folks in the business to deliver those more effective and engaging fan communications using that advanced modeling. So that's a B2C example. B2B side, Indeed, another one of our original clients. They were actually able to 8x their rate of campaign launches after adopting GrowthLoop. And that's not just from me, that is from a VP of marketing at Indeed. And they did that again by enabling a marketing team to self-serve directly on top of the data cloud so that they didn't have to go through that feedback loop that I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with. We're really trying to coordinate between data teams, between marketing teams as you align on that targeting criteria, then actually work to get that campaign to the point of delivery. So for customers like the Red Sox and customers like Indeed, how did they get to the point where they realized they wanted a composable CDP? They were pretty early adopters of this idea that 3P marketing solutions, as they've existed, over the past 10 years, just weren't going to cut it when it came to delivering the kind of speed and agility and marketing effectiveness that they needed. So when you look across that landscape of audience platforms over the past 10 years, whether that's a marketing cloud, a traditional CDP, reverse ETL, all again terms we're probably familiar with, there's a few problems that are sort of endemic to those solutions. Maybe the biggest one is requiring data copies. So all of these are going to require you to take your data and move it or copy it out of your core infrastructure into 3P technology. And that's going to introduce increased cost. Right? You're going to have to maintain those two data models. Maintenance, you're going to have to, again, maintain those two data models and make sure that your internal model is in lockstep with these data models you're maintaining externally. And also going to increase security risk, right? The security risk that you take on anytime you take your data out of that cloud data warehouse and push it into a third-party environment. It's also going to limit downstream flexibility in a lot of cases because you are going to be basically circumscribed into that set of destination platforms that these technologies actually enable you to activate to. And sometimes it's only the technology's owned destination platforms. And then third thing is just going to continue to perpetuate the silos that are really endemic to marketing and that probably already exist in your stack. And so that's where composable CDP comes into play. So what are the benefits of composable CDP and why does it represent, again, the maturation of this audience platform evolution of the past 10 years? So first of all, it sits directly on top of the data cloud. I call it plug and play technology. You can basically just plug it into your data warehouse and it acts as a window into your data models so that non-technical users like marketers or sales, really any commercial decision maker can easily access it to gain audience insights or to actually activate directly to downstream platforms. It has a zero copy architecture. So because, again, it's just sitting directly on top of that data warehouse, you weren't pushing your data into third-party warehouses. So it's very secure. You're leveraging the enterprise security of your warehouse. Right? It's very fast. You're leveraging the speed and the scalability of that warehouse. And it's a lot cheaper, right? Because again, you're storing that all in a resource you'd be utilizing anyway. It also leaves your data science teams, whether that's data science or data engineering, free to innovate. And then the models that they are producing become immediately available to the marketers that are utilizing this visual interface as a view into the data warehouse. And it allows you maximum flexibility because it is completely agnostic to downstream tools and marketing channels. So whatever marketing channels your team prefers to use for activation, you can easily, again, plug and play with those. So it's going to allow you to have that maximum flexibility while maintaining security, minimizing cost, and delivering fast time to value as well. All right, so with that, we can get to the fun part, which is the live demo. And again, obviously it's going to be a live demo of GrowthLoop, but the demo should help crystallize some of these more general concepts that we're talking about when it comes to composability. And let's see if I can actually minimize my screen here. Perfect, and hop right into GrowthLoop. Okay, so I'm going to start somewhere. I usually wouldn't, but I think that it really helps hone in again on this idea of composability and zero copy architecture and why composable CDPs are going to deliver such fast time to value. So you're an enterprise organization, you have your data living inside your data warehouse, whether that is Snowflake, BigQuery, Redshift, Databricks. GrowthLoop is completely data warehouse agnostic. But you've already got these existing data assets living in your warehouse. And so GrowthLoop is going to be able to connect directly to those assets and basically just bubble up those tables as segmentation criteria for marketers. And we're also going to be able to group those into these logical groupings that we call data set groups. You can think of it basically just as a consolidated data model that's going to enable your end users, again, who are probably non-technical, to be able to utilize all this data in a very intuitive format. So let's take, for instance, this retail customers data set group. So I'm going to look at the data sets that comprise this. So I've connected this users or customers data set from my BigQuery instance that is just my customers, right? So it's one-to-one identity or one-to-one characteristics about them. It's maybe where they live, their age, their last purchase date. Then I've also connected a variety of events about those customers. So I've connected their purchase orders, a table of the coupons they've been offered, a table that describes what items are in their abandoned carts. And so to the end user of GrowthLoop, this is going to all appear like it's in one beautifully simple and consolidated data model. And you can connect as many different data set groups as you want. So you could connect one that has all of your data and is kind of the ultimate authority for segmentation, or if you have a reason to segment out your data into groups. So maybe you're a bank that has mortgage data versus deposit account data, and only some folks should have access to some of that data, others should have access to other bits of it. Or let's say you're a retailer that works with a retail media network and needs to be able to segment out the data that your partner should have access to. You do that really easily with the concept of data set groups. Again, this is all going to let you get off to a really fast start because you're just utilizing the architecture your team has already created in your data warehouse. All right, so with that, let's hop into a bit more of the fun part, which is the actual audience development and activation process. So in GrowthLoop, we're going to give you a few different options for segmenting and activating your data. So you're going to have the ability to, number one, build an audience, so a segment of customers. We're going to let you do that in a few different ways. I'll get back to that in a second. You can also use those audiences as entry points into journeys. So journeys are going to be multi-step, multi-channel paths for your customers that are going to be highly specific to their characteristics, their activity, and are going to enable you to deliver those hyper-personalized campaigns. So you can see here on the homepage that I can see the most recent audiences my teams have created. So this is going to help share audience logic across your organization. So that's all commonly accessible. You all can act in alignment, copy audience logic to act more quickly, and just generally ensure, again, that strategic alignment across your teams. And then we're also going to allow for audience discoveries. This is one of our new AI modules. It's a place we're investing heavily, where we'll actually suggest audience concepts for you based on your recent segmentation criteria and based on the information that exists in your data warehouse. All right, to get started, we are going to go ahead and create an audience. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. So you can create an audience with our basic builder, which is what I'm going to hop into in a second. You can create an audience with Marv. That is our AI capability. So you can type in natural language that will then be converted into a SQL query to generate the audience. Or you can build with a template. And I'm going to hop into that quickly. I'm going to choose my data set group. In this case, I'm going to focus on this retail customers information. And you can see here that my organization has created a few templates to match our common use cases. So I have one here for targeting based on the coupons or incentives that folks have been offered. I have a basic churn win-back template, a weekly winners template for this weekly program that I run. And so creating these templates is, again, just going to allow you to minimize bottlenecks, and that it's going to give marketers a really defined set of fields to work from, and the ability to quickly design segments and launch campaigns without having to sort through an entire data model. That said, so again, you can create as many of these as you want that are custom to your org. We are going to go ahead and we are going to get started with a basic builder audience. I'm going to hop in here to my retail data set group, and I'm going to start with the basic. So again, this is just our basic out-of-the-box builder designed to get you off to a really fast start. A few things to notice here on this page. On the upper right-hand side, you've got your live customer count that's coming directly from your data warehouse. So this is going to let you know how many customers in the warehouse match the criteria that you're adding to this page. So again, allowing your marketing teams to iterate very quickly by identifying, is the pool of customers that my criteria is filtered down to actually the correct size for the type of campaign I plan on launching? And that's in contrast to a lot of former processes where you'd have to go back and forth with the data team to figure out what criteria exists that I can segment on. And once I segment on that criteria, is this even a reasonable size pool of customers to be targeting? You can see here this total revenue insights. You can connect up custom insights from your data warehouse to let you know in aggregate, how does this audience stack up, not just in terms of size, the number of customers, but characteristics like how much historical revenue have they driven. So, other characteristics that you can use to evaluate what is the actual importance or value of this audience to my organization historically. You're also going to be able to add in breakdowns. So you can choose from the characteristics that are coming from your data warehouse to figure out how is this audience distributed across characteristics that it might be important to know about. So things like geography or source channel. All characteristics that are going to be critical to ensuring that you understand the breakdown of the audience. And again, this is completely custom to your organization. You can break down across whatever criteria exists in your data warehouse. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to build an audience of churned customers with active coupons. I'm going to focus in on customers who haven't been purchasing recently, but who do have an active incentive that I could potentially use to draw them back in. So first things first, here you see this audiences box. So this is going to allow you to include or exclude other audiences within your organization in order to hone in on that desired segment. So in this case, a common exclusion criteria you see might be like a global control list or a global opt-out list. So either folks that across the board you want to use as a control group so you can evaluate the success of all of your experiments, or an opt-out list that consists of folks who don't have the communication preferences that you would need to actually launch this campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and exclude both of those. I'm going to exclude my global control list, and then I'm going to exclude my opt-outs as well. And you can see up here on the right-hand side that my audience is live sizing, so I'm querying the data warehouse in real time. All right, scrolling down here, this is where we see this data that's being bubbled up from your data warehouse as part of the data sets that you've connected. So you can see here I have this set of attributes. Again, these are not GrowthLoop attributes. It is completely custom to whatever exists in your data warehouse. And so in this case, you can see here that I have, let's see, a last purchase date. So I'm going to define a churned customer as they purchased before, let's say, June 1st of this year. So I'm going to go ahead and add in that date, and that's going to live size on the right-hand side. There you go. I'm down to 400,000. And you can also see here that I have a pretty complex variety of operators. So ands, ors, and then depending on the data type, a variety of different operators that I can use to define a really sophisticated segment. All right, so that takes care of filtering on that churned criteria, which is coming from this customers table. But what if I want to filter from another table that exists within BigQuery, like those events data sets that I mentioned earlier? The answer is you can just scroll down here and you can add in as many different data sets as you want. So again, the whole of your BigQuery is effectively just accessible to your marketers as this nice and consolidated data model. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and grab this coupons data set. Scroll down, and you can see here now that I have this coupons information that I can use to further segment based on whether or not someone has an active incentive. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say I want folks who have a coupon that is not expired and that has also not been used, and I'm going to try to leverage this in order to get them to repurchase. So my audience is going to resize here. So I'm down to about 213,000 customers. So if I felt like this was too large or too small, I could continue to iterate on this criteria. So maybe if I wanted to shrink it down, I could say I only want folks who have a coupon value above a certain amount. It's totally up to you. But again, this is just what helps eliminate that feedback loop between your non-technical teams, your data teams, and allows marketing teams to quickly activate and iterate on the criteria to get the audience that they're looking for. All right, so I am going to go ahead and export this audience. And with GrowthLoop, you're going to be able to export across over 100 different destinations. So again, that's getting at that aspect of composability where you have maximum flexibility with your downstream channels. So whatever your team prefers to activate with, whether that's paid media, an ESP, CRM, it's all available to you in this platform. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to choose Facebook ads right now. So I'm going to focus on paid media. And I've got a few different settings here that I can configure. So if I hop over here to match fields, I've already configured some default match fields for my organization. So they auto-populate here. So I'm going to be matched on email address, device ID, phone number. You can match across, a really wide variety of information if you have it in your data warehouse to ensure that you're maximizing your customer match rate in that destination platform. And GrowthLoop also offers some add-ons. If you do need help with your match rate, or if it's just not quite where you want it to be, or will allow you to enrich your data using a 3P identity graph. So that's also available to you if you're interested in expanding that paid media match rate. All right, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and schedule my campaign so I can select ongoing. If I select ongoing, it means that my audience will continuously update in the destination platform at the frequency I set. So GrowthLoop's going to query my data warehouse every so often at that frequency, check to see who now meets or who no longer meets this audience criteria, and then update membership in that destination platform. So I can set my frequency, I can set a custom start, an end date, set a specific cadence, so this should only go out on certain days of the week. But right now, I'm going to keep it as it is, and I'm going to click export. And it's worth noting that, if you're sending to an ESP that accepts personalization fields, so other information about your customers, you could also export additional signals from the warehouse as those personalization signals alongside your audience membership. All right, so this audience has now been activated across paid media. If you click here into exports, you can see the activity log. So when this audience kicks off, it's going to let me know, is my audience in progress? Has it made it to the destination? How many records were successful? Were any rejected? And I can continue to export this audience across as many different destination platforms as I want. So again, it's really going to allow you to accelerate that cross-channel targeting and ensure that your marketing and your audience segmentation strategy is standardized across channels, so you're making the most of your marketing dollars. All right. With that, one more thing I should mention here is that I also have the option to launch experiments from GrowthLoop. So you can see here I have a treatment split at 70% and control at 30%. So what this means is that GrowthLoop is going to randomly assign 70% of the folks in this audience to the treatment group and about 30% to control. So that's going to enable your marketers to really easily launch randomized experiments. They're statistically rigorous without relying on a data team to do all of that experimental design and activation for them. And all this information about your audience, both when they were exported to the destination, they were exported with personalization signals, who is in treatment, who is in control, all of that is going to be written back to your data warehouse. And again, that gets back to the aspect of composability. So because this is a composable system, everything is going to reside in the source of truth in your data warehouse. So not only can these audience definitions be leveraged in GrowthLoop and not only can they be leveraged in GrowthLoop and exported across channels, but they can also be leveraged from directly inside your data warehouse, where they can then be sent to the analytics tools that you want to use, to any other destination internal systems where you would want to have those segment definitions to, again, continue to standardize and secure that alignment on audience definitions across your marketing and your commercial organizations. So with that, that is a quick overview of how we would utilize this platform, the GrowthLoop platform, in order to activate downstream, to eliminate those bottlenecks in your marketing campaigns that have historically prevented organizations from making the most of their marketing dollars. And I don't think there are any questions, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. So thank you all so much for joining. Have a wonderful day. And if you do have any questions about GrowthLoop,